Good Monday evening, folks. It's Monday, June 12th, 2023 at precisealgorithmtrading.com, and we still have a pretty bullish market on our hands. So let's look at really what happened in the markets, and then we'll look at uh, the 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 bullish percent indexes. It's kind of like looking under the hood, and then we'll look at our automatic trading systems, and we actually have something to talk about with our automatic trading systems that's happened here, and kind of want to alert everybody to it. The uh, so these are over here on the left hand side, and I'm hovering through them. That's the ES, the RTY, the YM, and the NQ. That is the Russell or the E-mini futures for the S&P 500, the Russell 2000, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and the Nasdaq. So, and then this CL is actually the futures for oil. And if you notice here, there's an U designation and an N designation, and those designations, if you notice down here in bonds, they're U's, and the natural gas is NG here. That's the N also. So, and then down here at the VIX even is the um, the M23. So those are all designation of months of, I think, expiration. And if you really want to get into what all that stuff means, you can go to CBOE, the Chicago Board Options Exchange, and I think it's cboe.org or cboe.com. And none of it matters other than knowing that when the designation changes the letter, well, and the number is the year, but when the letter changes, that means you have to change the contract, and there's a period of lag between uh, when all the new contracts kick in and when the old contracts are over, and people are switching over, and the volume changes and everything else. I'll show you that in a little bit. So let's go through the futures and the indexes, which, by the way, in case you haven't done this very much, then the SPX, the DJI, the RUT, and the COMP, they correlate with those. The SPX is the S&P 500, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the Russell 2000, which zeroes out every night, which is aggravating because you can't see what the gain or loss was, and then the Nasdaq. And actually, if we want to, we can go down here if I have it close. And I don't. At least I don't see it. If we just type in IYM, we'll be close enough. IWM, I'm sorry. And you can see that this is the Russell 2000 Exchange Traded Fund ETF, and it's up 0.42% today. So that's generally speaking how the Russell shaped out for today. So, and you can see we've been up, and this is a tiny little bull flag, it appears, and we've got target dots to the upside on the weekly chart. So it's bullish, 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 except really we need to be pulling back to the mean probably here in the index, and so that means probably lower prices into a little bit here. We're up against some of these lines up here that I have over here on the right hand side. Those are standard deviations. So it's kind of like average true ranges, and standard deviations are measurements, and you can only go so far. A market can only go so far. You can see it actually came up here into the dotted line, I believe is 2 standard deviations because I programmed it, but it's been a long time ago. And then it bounced back off of it, which if you see that, if you go up against the 2 standard deviation move and like an options contract, it's probably a good time to take profit, because an options contract is typically going to be shorter term, especially if you're inside of a month or two, or you can take your profit there, and then you could actually, when you pull back to the mean, you can actually buy back in again if you have all the right signals. So, all right, probably got onto that too much. There, by the way, it is down there. It pops up if you type it in here, and it highlights it over here on the left. So, what did the S&P do today? It was up by almost 1%, 0.93% today. And the Russell we just looked at, the futures are actually moving a little bit higher into tomorrow. The Dow is pulling back a little bit, but it was up 0.5% today, 189 points, which is a pretty good move. The Nasdaq was up 1.53% today, so that's a good move. And the futures are a little bit up overnight. Doesn't mean anything because there's a lot of time between now and the time the market opens tomorrow. Alrighty, so then the 10-year note, which is kind of a measure of inflation, or one of the measures of inflation, is red, but chopping around here, and green and bullish on the weekly chart, so that's not good for inflation as far as a measure goes, because it looks like it's got higher potential to move over on the weekly chart. But the Fed move is going to be on Wednesday when they come out and tell us what they're going to do with interest rates. So we shall see. So then the Dow Jones transports are bullish on the daily, almost bullish on the weekly, but not quite. Broken out of this downward sloping trend line and all the wedge patterns and everything that went with it. So we'll see where we go from here. Oil actually got smoked today, down 4.27% on the USO contract. I had a slight small position in that, and I killed it before the end of the day just because I wasn't going to wait around for it. And then it's up a little bit overnight, but I mean really just a little bit. So maybe this head and shoulders pattern that I've got here drawn out with this target down here at $51 could play out. I got faked out here when it came back up in, but you know, this could be the right shoulder, and it's a sloppy one if that's the way it plays out, if you can see that. So that's my read on the markets. Let's flip over to the internals. Let's look at bonds real quick before we leave. Bonds look like they want to go up. They did go up a little bit today, and we're not green here on the EMAs. We're not green on the weekly, but we are green on the True Momo indicator, which is I'm testing it and it's becoming tried and true. So nothing's perfect, but it's getting to be pretty alright. Alright, and then we'll flip over to stockcharts.com, type in bullish, and then we get to the bullish percent indexes, and we'll buzz through these real quick. The industrials, I doubt moved. No, they did. They went up today and made a new X, 6.5%. The NYA, this is a point and figure buy signal. Hallelujah. So up 1.7% today, and we are there. Been talking about it long enough. The transports didn't move today. The Nasdaq up by 0.57%, hardly anything. The S&P 500 tacked on a new X today, up by 1.43%. That's kind of a big deal. Not a huge deal, just the S&P is moving right along. The OEX is the S&P 100, up by 1.79%, and then the NDX, which is one of the more volatile, up by 3.28%. So there's quite a bit of positivity here on the internals of the market as well. So there's an awful lot of reasons to think this market's going to continue to power higher, but I think it really is in desperate need of a pullback. I was going to show you this chart here, because if you look at this chart, this is literally the mean is at these moving averages in the middle, and then that's one average true range, that's two average true ranges, and three average true ranges. And look, we're way up here above the third average true range, and you can see over here back in December 21st of 22, we were up above the third average true range, and or ATR, and that's where we got the pullback. If you go back over here, we didn't even make it to the third average true range. We were up past the second one in no man's land there, and we got our pullback. Back here, we got outside of the average true range, the third one, and we climbed higher a bit, and then we rolled over. So it's very possible that we could see some push into that, which would be good, bullish for the markets. But then I wouldn't say this is good. It's pretty bearish after that, and we'll see that start to show up in the bullish percent indexes. Typically, before you get a big rollover, you're going to see it in the bullish percent indexes. You will see it if it rolls over hard too. Up here, we got up to the third average true range. Over here, we didn't quite make it, but back here, we actually went up through it a little bit. And then we chopped around a bit before we rolled back over. So I'm just trying to give you a flavor for what can happen here, because that's where we're at, is up against the third average true range and pushing through it right now. So anyways, probably stuck on that too long. Now let's talk about their automatic trading system. So this is the YM, and this is the new U23 contract. And again, there's probably some brilliant way of finding this, but since I have Thinkorswim, there you go. The U23 showed up over here over the weekend. It was actually when the markets opened last night. So we're in the U23 contract of the YM, and really, if you look at, like, well, I'll demonstrate here, but this is what it looks like on a 6-month basis, and we're looking at this tail over here since the U contract's been available apparently. But when Thinkorswim rolls over to it, I figure there's enough volume in it, that's my cue to get in. So as of today, which is the 6/12, this is the only move that we've been in this contract. So yeah, it's also terrible. It's what, 6 trades there, and one of them was profitable, but not that big a deal. And actually, if you go back to the old contract, we felt this same pain. So, and again, that's when you add it all up on a 6-month basis or even further and open it up to a year, we've got an upward trending slope here, and that's what we're trying to do ultimately. No trades were generated. So this is the RTY, and this is what they call the continuous contract here, because it's the at symbol, and this is 6 months worth of data. But today, when I switched it over to the RTY U23 contract, well, there's no new trades. So that's fine, no trades. And you can see here that actually it doesn't matter which one of these we looked at, because there were no trades. The last trade in the RTY has been this trade right here on 6/9. Then it gets interesting. So here's the NQ, the new NQ, and no trades were generated today. And then this is, if you actually pull up the the old contract, this trade was generated today for, you know, this is based on 3 contracts. That's what the 3 is there. This 3 right here. But for a whole $165. So there's nothing really to write home about in the old contract either. The new contract didn't power enough trades or enough to trade. The old contract only would have had a $165 gain. And then I wanted to pull these up because this is the old contract, the NQM 23, and this is that trade. And then this is the new NQU 23, and there are no trades, especially not even the one that we were looking at there. But this is the continuous contract that they call it. It's really a model contract. So it's putting all the different months together and running them end to end, which isn't really true, but it's as close as you can get for a model. And you can't trade this. You have to trade the actual contracts. And you can see it actually triggered a trade today. That would have been a nice one. This is a phantom trade. So when it shows up, you actually, I mean, this is only going to, well, I don't want to say only because I can't control everything, but this type of thing only really typically shows up during these contract rollover periods and changeover periods, because I don't know why, but it's irritating because this on 3 contracts is a $6,000 trade. Now that's not real. It never would have happened, so yeah, I just have to discount that out of the whole game. And it's kind of like trading. You can't control everything, and you can't control this. So you just can't, you can decide you don't want to trade, or you can decide, hey, I'm going to take 5 days off during that period of time when all that's going on, and you could just ignore all 5 days of whatever while this transition's happening. But anyways, I wanted to show you all 3, all the way from this minor trade. I'm glad that didn't actually trigger for the whole time, because then I would be kicking myself for having moved. But my rule is I move when Thinkorswim moves, and it's worked out pretty well. And then the NQU didn't trade at all, and then the NQ continuous contract is a fake trade. So wanted to show you guys that tonight. That's irritating, but it's part of trading. So take care, guys. Have a great night, and we will talk to you tomorrow.